At the end of this video, you should be able to identify how movements of tectonic plates change Earth's surface. Chapter 10, Section 3, The Changing Continents. The continents did not always have the same shapes that they do today, and geologic evidence indicates that they will not stay the same shape forever. In fact, the continents are always changing. Slow movements of tectonic plates change the size and shape of the continents over millions of years. Reshaping Earth's crust. All of the continents that exist today contain large areas of stable rock called cratons. These cratons are older than 540 million years. Rocks within the cratons that have been exposed to Earth's surface are called shields. Cratons represent ancient cores around which the modern continents formed. Rifting and continental reduction. One way that continents change shape is by breaking apart. Rifting is the process by which a continent breaks apart. New, smaller continents may form as a result of this process. The reason that continents rift is not entirely known. Because continental crust is thick and has a high silica content, continental crust acts as an insulator. This insulating property prevents heat in Earth's interior from escaping. Scientists think that as heat from the mantle builds up beneath the continent, continental lithosphere becomes thinner and begins to weaken. Eventually, a rift forms in this zone of weakness, and the continents begin to break apart, as is shown on the screen here. Terranes and continental growth. Continents change not only by breaking apart, but also by gaining material. Most continents consist of cratons surrounded by a patchwork of terranes. A terrane is a piece of lithosphere that has a unique geologic history that differs from the histories of the surrounding lithosphere. A terrane can be identified by three characteristics. First, a terrane contains rock and fossils that differ from the rock and fossils of neighboring terranes. Second, there are major faults at the boundaries of a terrane. Third, the magnetic properties of a terrane generally do not match those of neighboring terranes. Terranes become part of a continent at convergent boundaries. When a tectonic plate carrying a terrane subducts under a plate made of continental crust, the terrane is scraped off of the subducting plate, as is shown on the screen here. The terrane then becomes part of the continent. Some terranes may form mountains, while other terranes simply add to the surface area of the continent. The process in which a terrane becomes part of a continent is called accretion. A variety of materials can form terranes. Terranes may be small volcanic islands or underwater mountains called seamounts. Small coral islands or atolls can also become terranes, and large chunks of continental crust can become terranes. When large terranes and continents collide, major mountain chains often form. For example, the Himalaya mountains formed when India began colliding with Asia about 50 million years ago during the Cenozoic era. At this point, you should be able to identify how movements of tectonic plates change Earth's surface.